How's it going, everyone? At the time that I'm filming this video, it's about 2 weeks out from the 2020 presidential election, and if I'm being honest, I am sick of the political controversy. So today I wanted to make a video to stir up a different kind of controversy that I think is more interesting. So today's video is going to be about 5 useless modifications for the FRS, BRZ, or 86. Now before this video gets too far, I do want to give a quick shout out to my sponsors. Make sure you guys check them out if you guys want to make your car faster or better looking at an affordable price. Now first I want to define what I mean by a useless modification, and when I say useless, I'm talking in terms of performance. So I'm talking about modifications that you can spend some money on and either spend some time installing them or spend more money having somebody else install them, and at the end of the day you're going to see very little to no performance enhancement on your car. So the first useless modification that I'm going to talk about that really does not increase your car's performance is lightweight pulleys. I see a lot of people buying these to help spice up their engine bay, make their car look cooler, and they'll get the chrome red ones, chrome blue to make their engine bay look cooler. But at the end of the day, even though these pulleys may be lighter than the stock ones, the power gains that you're going to see from these lightweight pulleys are very minimal and definitely not worth the money and the time that you'll take installing these. So save your money, don't buy lightweight pulleys. They're really going to make very little to no difference on the power performance of your car and just aren't worth it at the end of the day. The second modification, and this one's probably going to break a couple hearts, are catbacks and axle backs. And the reason that I say that these have no performance gains is because when you have a naturally aspirated FRS, BRZ, or 86 like they come from the factory, there really is not a lot of power being held up in your exhaust system, especially at the point of the catback or the axle back. So if you're upgrading your exhaust at the catback or axle back point, hoping to see some power gains, I hate to break it to you, but you're really going to see very little to no power gains. And if you feel like you did see some power gains by upgrading your catback, it probably is the placebo effect because your car got louder and you felt like that louder noise kind of makes the car faster, but at the end of the day, it's really just all in your head. Catbacks and axle backs can only really make your car sound better, but really do not have performance upgrades when you're talking about naturally aspirated FRSs and BRZs. The next modification I'm going to talk about that's useless is also an exhaust part, and that is the front pipe. So the front pipe is one of the 2 catalytic converters in the FRS and BRZ. The first one is in the headers and the second one is in the front pipe. And while when you remove the catalytic converter in the headers and get catless headers, it does have a power difference that is noticeable on the car. The catalytic converter in the front pipe does not have the same effect. I don't know if it's just not as restrictive as the one in the headers, but when you get catless front pipe, even with a tune, you're going to see very little to no performance gains. So it's definitely not worth the money to invest in a catless front pipe because you won't see a lot of performance gains. You will make your car louder, but if your goal is performance, you're not going to see it there. Now the next useless modification is going to be a radiator. And before you guys get too upset and tell me that the goal of the radiator upgrade is not to increase performance, it's more to increase reliability, while that is true, the reason that I'm saying that this modification is useless is because the stock radiator on the FRS and BRZ and 86 is actually extremely efficient. And unless you get to very high power levels, you do not need to upgrade it, and there are better places that you can spend your money to make your car more reliable, like an oil cooler. But for example, when I was running about 320 wheel horsepower on my car, I saw no issues with water cooling despite the fact that I had the OEM radiator and no real upgrades when it came to cooling the water system. So save your money, don't upgrade your radiator unless you're going to very extreme power levels. Now the final modification that I'm going to talk about, and this one is probably the one that's going to break the most hearts, that is an intake. If you have a naturally aspirated FRS or BRZ, the power gains that you're going to see from an intake are very minimal. And maybe there are some people who are going to go through the comments right now and say, that's not true. I totally felt my intake when I put it on my car. I'm going to argue that's probably placebo effect. When you're talking about a naturally aspirated car like this, it really does not matter how good your intake system is because it's still a naturally aspirated car. If you have a turbocharged or a supercharged car, then yes, the intake system matters because it helps push that air through into the motor. But when you have a naturally aspirated motor, there really is not a lot of locking in power with a stock air system like this one. Keep in mind, all the things I talked about today are really my opinion, and you're welcome to disagree with them. If you disagree with any of the things that I talked about today, feel free to leave them in the comments below, or if you agreed with the things that I said, also leave it in the comments below because I'd like to see some discussion of whether or not this is the consensus or whether there's some dispute over the things I talked about today. If you enjoyed this video, make sure you guys subscribe. Follow me on Instagram as well at narrowman98. But that's going to do it for today. Thank you guys so much for watching and have a good one.